Hello everyone, very good afternoon to one and all. So welcome to the webinar which is like Deep Tech in Smart Cities. I think this is the last webinar. We already completed 9 webinars like Deep Tech in Healthcare and many webinars regarding upcoming and new technologies. So yes, smart cities, generally every city is going to smart in future. So definitely this webinar and this information will be useful. So, and today's speaker was Sesha Kishore Garu. Hello, sir. Welcome back to the
Yes,
program. And
thank you.
thank you so much for giving 9 webinars to us. And this is the 10th webinar. So, he's CEO from Deep Tech and he's from Singapore. And he's having like 30 plus years experience in IT industry. So, ask him, utilize him if you're having any doubts in regarding not only smart cities, if you have any doubts in any technology you can interact him. This is the last webinar, so and in future definitely we'll collaborate to deep tech and we'll do more things to the students definitely. But anyway, so utilize this session. Yes sir, please start the session. I'll
Yeah, thank
stop
you.
sharing the screen.
Thank you all for coming for this webinar. Today we are going to talk about utilizing deep tech in smart cities. To introduce myself, my name is Sesha Kishore Komareddy. I'm CEO of SK Deep Tech, based in Singapore. And what we do is basically we used to have a company called SK Computers. We are into IT services. We have a company since 1994 in Visakhapatnam. And later in 2002, we started Singapore operations. We are mainly into software development. And last year, we started venturing into deep tech, offering digital transformation solutions to clients. When we say digital transformation or deep tech, we'll be covering areas like artificial intelligence, business analytics, IoT, cybersecurity, fintech, and other related areas. So we started off in 1994 as a private limited company in Vizag. In 99, we made it limited. And 2002, we started our Singapore operations. And 2020, we started two startups, one in Hyderabad, Telangana, and another one is in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. So the way we do marketing is we have 5 brands. One is AI Asia, mainly concentrates on artificial intelligence, mainly chatbot development. And another one is Analytica. We do predictive analytics reports, dashboard reports. And another one is Smart Cities, where we offer ISO 37120 quality certification for smart cities. And IoTika is our Internet of Things service brand, where we provide end-to-end Internet of Things solutions to clients. And Academy is our training division, where we offer deep tech training with industry collaboration. So with this introduction, I would like to start our today's webinar. We are going to talk about how deep tech is being utilized in smart cities. So to understand what is a smart city is nothing but an urban area that uses different types of electronic methods and sensors to collect data. So basically, we put a lot of IoT gadgets. We call these gadgets will be having a lot of sensors, and with the help of these sensors in the city, we collect information from all parts of the city, and we bring the information to a central location. So the insights gained from the data are used to manage the assets, resources, and services efficiently, so that the data can be used to improve the operations or the for the benefit of the people across the city. So IoT gadgets across the city will help collect the data, and we bring the data to a cloud server where we use other kinds of deep tech like analytics to analyze the data, understand the data, and analyze some kind of meaningful pattern in the data. We use a lot of statistical techniques to develop a lot of dashboard reports, and we use artificial intelligence to analyze the data and predict the future, how the city is going to perform in the future. So in essence, a smart city using deep tech is we use a lot of technologies like IoT, analytics, artificial intelligence, fintech, cyber security, and all these things. So being in Singapore, Singapore has started becoming a smart city. We started the journey almost like 10 years back. And Singapore is a smart city, and it is consistently being ranked as the first smart city in the rankings. And Singapore is marching towards to be the first smart nation in the world. In Singapore, we have introduced a lot of initiatives. They've experimented a lot of things using these technologies. So we are going to see how Singapore is using these deep tech to become a smart city. Okay. So when I say deep tech in smart city, we use a lot of technologies. For example, IoT, Internet of Things. Mainly, these IoT gadgets are used to sense the data, like like pollution, or you can put some kind of cameras in the critical areas in the city, where you can collect the data, like videos from various locations will come to the central database. So IoT gadgets can be used to collect the data on pollution or videos, or a lot of other things. You can sense parking data across the city, or the weather data. A lot of things you can sense. So once we collect the data from IoT gadgets, we use analytics to generate a dashboard reports where we can see the trends. So in the dashboard reports, you can see the city, the whole of city on a screen, where you can go to a particular location, and whatever sensor data is available at that particular location you can see. For example, you have an IoT gadget that collects the pollution data at that particular point. You can see the pollution data live. If you have a camera at that particular location, you can see the real live video of that particular location. So similarly, artificial intelligence can be used to predict the scenarios. So what artificial intelligence does is it will analyze all the data that is captured from all the various IoT sensors and gadgets, and then it will predict the trend, how the future is going to be. Like it can be transportation, or it can be pollution, or whatever. You can use artificial intelligence to predict the scenarios. Similarly, there is another deep tech area that is called fintech, which can be used to simplify the tax collection system. For example, the citizens can maybe pay online using their mobile phones. The technology can be used to ease the making the payments to the government bodies. Okay. So in essence, a lot of technologies in deep tech like IoT, analytics, artificial intelligence, fintech, all are combined to help the smart city, especially the city management, to understand the city in live environment, and so that they can take some kind of collective decisions. Okay. Let's see how these components are being used to solve the problems in the smart city. First one I'm going to talk about is a smart pole, which is nothing but you might have seen like your street lights. Like every road will have some street lights. So this is the best thing. People thought, why don't we use the street lights as a IoT gadgets, the collection point to collect all the data, because street lights will be there in every part of the city. So if you make the street lights smart, then you can collect a lot of data. And there are a lot of companies that have come up with smart street lights. Like more or less the features are same. So if you start looking from the bottom, the nowadays what they're doing trying to do is they're giving what you call electronic vehicle car socket. In future, the vehicles will be electronic vehicles more. So they want to use this street light, so that if any vehicle wants to charge, they can get the charge from this particular street light. So this is one facility the companies have considered. So electronic vehicle charging. And another one is the SOS button. For example, you have some kind of emergency, immediately you can press the button and you can talk to the central command center, which is in the central part of the city. So all these smart street lights are in a way connected to the central command system, so that anybody wants to talk to the people in case of emergency, they can talk. So okay. And another one is wireless charging. Nowadays, everything is wireless charging, so this can be used as a wireless charging facility also. As I said, when you want to talk to the central command system, you will be using this intercom facility where you can talk and then you can listen. So it will have a facility where it can take the inputs from the person who is talking, and at the same time it will have a speaker so that the other person talking from the other side can hear. Similarly, the speaker can be used to broadcast any kind of important message throughout the city. Once the message is broadcasted, wherever the street light is there, the people in the surrounding area can hear. And the next point is the camera, where you can capture the real video of the camera, and all these cameras are connected to the central system. And then the next one is a motion detector. If any person is moving there or anything, it can detect. And then the main thing is, of course, the street light. This is what we're talking about, a smart street light. The main purpose is the street light. So this is the light. And then they want to make it as a Wi-Fi hotspot. In nearby surrounding people, if they want to browse internet, they can use this as a Wi-Fi hotspot. And then air quality monitoring. So for example, in the surrounding area, this can be used to measure the quality of the air, how the PM 2.5 or PM 1.0, or it can detect the gases, like CO2, NO2. I mean, depends on what kind of sensors you want to use in the system. So this smart street light can be used as an air quality monitor, and this information will be sent to the command system in real time. Okay. Okay, and then USB charger socket. I talked about this again, and then this can be used as a touch panel. Sometimes some companies are using this as an advertising media. You can put an LED panel and you can run the advertisement. So this is the main thing. People want to capture all the information using IoT gadgets, using smart poles, and these poles will be connected to the central command system. Okay. Now let me talk about when I say gas monitoring dashboard. There are a lot of improvements that I've done. When, for example, in a city, the main idea is once you detect something, automatically the response system should be activated. So constantly these videos will be monitoring for any kind of threats, and automatically they detect a threat, automatically the reaction mechanism will be activated. Now let's have a look at how a gas monitoring dashboard can be used to activate the response system. Okay.
This is a gas leak. This is the smart light that felt the shaking caused by the gas leak. This is the monitor that detected the change in the air, which prompted the drone to be deployed to get a closer look at the gas leak. This is the team that was dispatched because of what the drone saw, while this sign warned the community to avoid the area around the gas leak. And this is the dashboard that helped them all work together to create a smarter, safer city. City Management Solutions, powered by Intel.
Okay. Similarly, now people are using these sensors to collect the waste. See, normally what happens is like waste is collected from different parts of the city, and what the waste management companies have noticed is even though the waste is like only 10%, still they have to collect on a daily routine basis. They still have to send people to collect the garbage, and they will still collect even though the garbage box is not full, even though if it is 10% full. So now what people are doing is they're putting sensors so that the sensor will constantly monitor the how much percentage the garbage box is full, and it will activate only if it is like say 70% or 80% full, so that the people can send the garbage collectors to that particular place where it is 80% full. So this way they're able to manage their manpower effectively, so that they don't have to like routinely send people to each and every location, even though the waste is like 80% full or not. So let's see how Singapore is being. They are experimenting with this system. How to collect? Use sensors to collect the garbage from the system. Okay.
This is really a surprise because I didn't read my script. Adrian Risky is back in the house, and this time.
A smart nation that monitors waste levels in refuse bin centres has been implemented in Pasir Ris and Tampines to make rubbish collection more efficient.
Well, it will be progressively rolled out island-wide by public waste collectors when the National Environment Agency calls for tenders starting next year. Vanessa Lim has the details.
When rubbish is thrown out from homes, it would most likely end up here in a refuse bin centre. The garbage is then collected and taken to the incinerator daily, regardless of whether the bins are overflowing or less than half filled. But a smart system implemented in Pasir Ris and Tampines is able to send notifications so collection is done only when they're nearly full. It's the first of its kind in Singapore and is currently only used by public waste collector 800 Super. The grey machine you see behind me is called a compactor, and in it it's storing rubbish collected from HDB homes nearby. Now, Raj, just how full is this compactor right now?
70%.
So it's 70% right now, and that's very close to 75%. What happens at 75% is that the system will send an alert to notify that a compactor is nearly full. Now we're going to empty this bin and see what happens next. Back in the office, the operation team that receives the notification will dispatch a truck to pick up the refuse. This system has helped reduce operation costs by 5%.
We realized that actually some of the bin center did not generate a lot of refuse, so can be collected every 2 days once. Till today, manpower is still an issue and a challenge in the waste management industry. So with more technology coming out, it actually helps us to improve productivity and also to save on manpower costs.
The system also makes maintenance smoother.
Information of the error was being uploaded to the cloud. With that, they also can prepare the right tools and the right equipment to go down to attend to breakdowns.
But residents we spoke with had mixed reactions.
There's an improvement in this area here. Previously, there's some stench, all these type of things here.
For hygiene purpose, that I think for this dump collection, I think should be done every day.
Smell, basically, it's more clean and everything.
The company works with the town councils to conduct routine checks on hygiene. To date, sensors have been installed in over 50 bin centers that serve mainly HDB estates and hawker centers across Pasir Ris and Tampines. But this could increase, with the National Environment Agency looking to include such needs-based collection systems in tenders between 2019 and 2021.
Good grades.
Okay, that's about the waste collection management system. Singapore is experimenting, but there is a lot of complaints from the customers. They don't want people to wait till it is complete 70%, because what happens is after 10% full, and if it takes like a week or 10 days to become like 70% full, they're getting a lot of smell and all these things, so they're not comfortable with it. Okay. So another initiative the government is doing is delivery robots. They're using robots so that they can deliver small goods from the nearby departmental stores to the residents. So this will help the city become more and more smart, because there are a lot of old people who may want to buy some things. They may not go to the store and buy, and then they can place an order through their mobile phone, and then the departmental store will deliver the goods to their home using a robot. This is also being experimented in Singapore, and we have to see how this can be like scaled up to do across the entire city. Okay. Okay, that's about the robot the Singapore government is experimenting. So far, I mean, it is being in the trial phase only in the nearby locality. So even though the government is trying a lot of initiatives to develop a smart city, so they are trying with the concept of a digital district where they want to try a part of a city to be as much digital as possible. So they have identified one district which is called Punggol, and they want to make it as a digital district, and they want to see how best they can utilize these deep technologies to transform this particular district to be a digital district. Okay, let's have a look at this video.
Punggol Digital District. Situated in the north of Punggol, amongst a comprehensive suite of lifestyle and recreational amenities to serve the community. The district will be seamlessly linked by park connectors and MRT stations. This 50-hectare development will be integrated with the surrounding residential areas to bring exciting job opportunities closer to homes. Comprising the new Singapore Institute of Technology campus, JTC's Business Park, as well as commercial and community spaces.
Sorry, the video is not
The district
available in
is planned to be an inclusive and smart precinct where technology and social innovations will transform the way we work, live, play and learn. Urban solutions such as district cooling systems, pneumatic waste conveyance systems, solar power technologies, and many more will optimize energy and resources to create a more livable and sustainable environment. JTC's Business Park will be co-located with SIT's campus to enhance industry-academia collaboration and integration of physical facilities such as research laboratories, incubator, and maker spaces. The community can also look forward to enjoying green links and public spaces for social interactions. Stroll or cycle down Old Punggol Road, which will be transformed into a heritage trail, and enjoy the lush greenery leading from the town centre to Punggol Point. Housing key growth industries of the digital economy, such as cybersecurity and digital technologies, the district aims to support Singapore's drive towards becoming a smart nation. JTC's Business Park will also be integrated with the new Punggol Coast MRT station and will offer a wide range of amenities and event spaces. The proximity between industry and academia, coupled with shared facilities and collaboration spaces, encourage the cross-fertilization of ideas and knowledge sharing among enterprises, entrepreneurs, and students. New ideas and projects conceived in SIT could be test-bedded and adopted by businesses in PDD. The district is designed for seamless connectivity with extensive walkways for pedestrians and personal mobility devices. Walk through the heart of the digital district via the Campus Boulevard, which is envisioned as a vibrant gathering space connecting SIT's campus and business park buildings. This pedestrianized street, lined with retail and F&B offerings, will lead you directly to the waterfront. At the waterfront, take part in recreational activities or simply enjoy the bustling activities at the market village. The Punggol Digital District reflects our aspirations for Singapore's future. Be part of this community to make this district a place where everyone is proud to be part of.
Okay, that's about the Punggol Digital District. But what Singapore government have noticed is, even though they want to make this particular district as smart as possible, there are still a lot of disturbances because it is not built from scratch. They want to implement something and some things may not permit. For example, in the earlier video, you have seen the robot getting the things to the neighborhood, but again, the path may not be there for the robot to move. Sometimes there may be like what we call steps may be there, it cannot cross. So a lot of restrictions are there. Even though they want to make it as smart as possible, they're not able to do it. So what they've decided is they wanted to build an estate from scratch. What we call is a clean slate, and then they want to build a entire estate, what we call in a place called Tenga, and they're building an entire estate in Tenga. They want to make it as smart as possible. You talk about anything that is available in technology today, they want to implement it. For example, they want to make it like pollution free. It's totally a car free zone, and more of like cycling paths, more of walking areas, and as much digitally connected as possible. And let's have a look at this new initiative that Singapore government is doing.
Tengah and Punggol are set to take centre stage as smart technology permeates Singapore's neighbourhoods.
The ongoing World City Summit is throwing up an exciting future made possible through better planning, technology, and innovation.
It can monitor the amount of rubbish collected. It reveals the number of rodents caught. It can even tell instantly if a water pipe has burst. For some of the residents living near the Punggol Digital District, these may be some of the possible conveniences of their everyday life. Trials will begin in 2023. Designed and built by ST Engineering, an array of these sensors will be linked to an open digital platform. The platform in turn allows other stakeholders, such as companies, to access the data to provide the necessary services. Senior Minister of State for Communications and Information, Janil Puthucheary, was present at the Memorandum of Understanding signing ceremony between Jurong Town Corporation and ST Engineering today. He said that the Punggol testbed was another step towards the digital future.
We have to go from Punggol Digital District maybe to the rest of Punggol, or Punggol Digital District and take it to Jurong, or take it to One North. So it's a start, it's a seed. Just because it works well in Punggol Digital District, that's not enough. We must make sure it works well in Punggol Digital District and then plan to scale it out to benefit the rest of Singapore and Singaporeans.
When the first batch of 1,500 housing board flats in Tengah Estate are launched this November, home buyers will find themselves living in a smart energy town. Among the possible features are a centralized cooling system and even an artificial intelligence software to manage daily energy needs. Residents may even have access to their household utilities data collected from sensors throughout the town. HDB also announced today that it will partner Singapore Power to testbed cutting-edge technologies in the estate. At the MOU signing, National Development Minister Lawrence Wong said Singapore would continue to push boundaries.
While we have done well in building a green and livable city in Singapore, we also recognize that we must continue to push ourselves to go beyond the status quo, because we know that there's still much more we must do to make Singapore even more livable and sustainable.
Okay, that's about the latest initiative from Singapore government to make it as smart as possible. Okay, now let's talk about ISO 37120 certification for smart cities. Every city is trying to be a smart city. In India also, like a lot of government funding is available, and every city is claiming to be a smart city. But internationally, people have come up with an ISO certification for smart cities, which will differentiate a smart city from an ordinary city. So every city, whether the city is in India or US or UK, any part of the world, every city is measured against 100 indicators. These indicators range from, say, environment, housing, sanitation, employment, connectivity rate. All those parameters is measured for each and every city. And all these 100 parameters, based on the outcome of these 100 parameters, the city will be ranked against the smart city index. So in this ISO indicators for a smart city, every city is measured against 21 what we call themes. These themes range from economy, education, energy, environment, finance. I mean, all these things like fire and emergency response, governance, health, urban planning, transportation. Every city is measured against these 21 themes. Under these themes, all together in 21 themes, every city will be measured against like 100 parameters. So we call these parameters a score parameter or a supporting parameter, which we call indicators. So in total, every city is measured with 100 indicators, like 46 are core indicators and 54 are supporting indicators. For example, if you take a theme called housing, so the indicators will be like percentage of city population living in slums. That is the indicator. So every city is measured against this indicator. Again, another indicator under housing is number of homeless per 100,000 population, or the percentage of households that exist without registered legal titles. So these three indicators under housing are common for any smart city that could be anywhere in the world. So similarly, every smart city is measured against these 100 indicators, and based on that, they will issue a certification, the quality certification for a smart city. Okay. And then when we go for a certification, there are certification levels depending on how many number of indicators the city is measuring. For example, the city, when they start, they may not be in a position to measure all the 100 indicators. So if they measure like 30 to 45 indicators, then they will be classified as aspirational city, aspirational, trying to be a smart city. And similarly, 46 to 59 indicators, it's a bronze level, and 60 to 75 silver level, and 76 to 90 is gold level, and 91 to 100 is platinum level. So every city can start measuring the indicators and then claim for this ISO certification. And there are only few cities in India that have already attained, like I think, gold certification. One is Pune, Jamshedpur, and a few other cities in India. So the purpose of this indicators measurement is so that the city management can monitor how the city is performing. So once we start measuring these indicators, all information will come into the central system, and then we generate a dashboard, which is a live dashboard. And whenever the data is uploaded, the dashboard will be updated, and then the city management can see how the city is performing against each indicator. Now let me show you how the city can be measured using this dashboard. So this is how the dashboard looks like, and each line is one theme. So in total, we have like 17 themes, and against each theme, you can see the color like red, blue, or green. Green means that particular theme is doing good, and red means it is not doing good, and blue means it's not, it's just below the mark, like it's slipping down. So this is how the city management can get the information in the dashboard, and all the data they can be seen from single dashboard. For example, they want to see the parking status in the city. They can click the parking, and then they can pick the location, and they can see how many parking slots are empty, how many parking slots are full, and all those things. So once the city management sees, for example, one particular, say for example, transportation is red, they can click on this particular thing, and they can drill down to the next level and see how why it is red, and they can drill down up to the ward level and see why the city is not performing good in that particular theme. Okay, so every city can be measured, as I said, again, it's the same 100 themes, and each theme will be linked to one indicator. So altogether, all the 100 indicators can be measured using one single dashboard. Okay, so when they click on one particular thing which is on red, say for example, so they will go to the next level, and for example, they can see why this particular thing is showing red, and they can drill down to the next level. For example, this theme, maybe there are like say 20 indicators linked to this theme, and they can go to the indicator which is really showing red, and they can drill down up to the ward level, to see why it is showing red. For example, this is one particular indicator which is showing entirely red, and if you see the thing up to this particular date, it is in green, which is doing good, and suddenly it slipped to red. So they can see which indicator is slipping to red. The theme may be red, but again, under the theme they have a lot of indicators, and they can see which indicator is in red, and they can further drill down and see why that particular indicator is in red, so that they can get the real-time data from the actual data, and then they can take some kind of action, so that they can improve the performance of the city. So this is how the city can be monitored using a dashboard. Okay. So again, each city may be different, so they can set their own targets. What target level they treat it to be blue, or what target level they treat it to be green and red. Okay. So this is about dashboards, how a dashboard can be used to monitor a city. Now let's see the actual dashboard. I have picked up one smart city, which is Amsterdam. Let's see how the actual dashboard in real time looks like. Okay.
Today, data is omnipresent. Real-time data is omnipresent. Data about traffic flows, CO2 emissions, charging stations and their availability, and much, much more. But the main challenge is not about gathering data. It's about efficient utilization. And here, a dashboard can help, as we can see in Amsterdam. The Amsterdam Smart City Dashboard is vendor independent. It uses certified open standards and is compatible with BIM and GIS frameworks. Dashboard, though, all open data from all possible sensor systems according to 3 vital themes: energy transition, human environment, and mobility. The use of KPIs, key performance indicators, is crucial. KPIs are not only updated in real time, they are also filed so as to create a database. Thus, they offer insights into both developing trends and the actual state of affairs. Anomalies, for instance, can be perceived immediately. This enables the user of the dashboard to adequately inform the authorities, who subsequently can take all the necessary measures. Smart City is not about gathering data, it is about using it efficiently.
I think that's all for today's webinar. Now I'd like to take up a few questions. You can post your questions in the chat
Yes.
box. Yeah.
Yeah, any questions, please ask in. Any questions you can ask in chat box.
Just please type in. Yes.
No, hello. Hello. Uh,
Yeah.
so any questions you can ask him. This is the last webinar. So if you want to interact him, you can ask related to any questions. Definitely, sure, will give reply to you. I hope no questions from
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
What I have to learn for designing and planning for such smart cities? Hamant was asking the question. He's from like civil engineering.
Yeah. See, this comes under urban planning, and a lot of architectural people will do this. But nowadays, the technology is also integrated. So, a lot of people who are learning these deep technologies like artificial intelligence and IoT are being taken in smart city developments. So, normally in India, how it works is every smart city has got a separate funding, and they have started a separate company for each smart city. For example, if you take Visakhapatnam Smart City Corporation Limited is a separate company. They have their own team, and they will be recruiting people to develop whatever they think they want to develop for Vizag. So you need to contact the people like the city, smart city development company people. So what kind of job opportunities they will have. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. So any other questions you can ask? Definitely will give the reply. And anything related to smart cities, healthcare, and artificial intelligence, IoT, not only smart cities, you can ask any question. Okay, Kishore gar, I hope no questions from
Okay.
them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah, I would like to give validity of this all webinars. First
Yeah.
of all, thank you so much for giving like 10 webinars to the students. It's not an
Yeah.
easy thing. Uh, Thank you so much once again. And on behalf of APSSDC, I would like to thank you everyone for giving these wonderful programs, webinars to all the students in overall Andhra Pradesh. And Dr.
Yeah.
Ravi Garu, he also has to join, but unfortunately the COVID situation was too worst. So in
Yeah. Yeah.
our
Yeah.
like organization was also someone, but many members was suffering from COVID, and we are not we are not able to do these webinars and do things now because the situation was too worse. The
Yeah.
beds are not available and the oxygen is are not available. But anyway, it's like thank you, Kishore Garu, for
Yeah.
behalf of Ravi Garu and from behalf of total APSSDC. I would like to thank
Yeah.
you, Deep Tech, and you also.
Yeah. Thank you very
And
much.
yeah, now the India situation was too worst. I
Very
hope you
bad.
know
Yeah.
that. I don't know how the
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how the Singapore situation.
Singapore is
But
quite
in
better.
anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
far better because the technology is in high, and
Yeah.
here the population was very high, like when compared to other countries. So more members was infected by COVID. Then there is no beds and there is no
Yeah.
facilities to the people actually here.
Yeah.
So daily, like in lakhs, the cases was.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kishore Garu, but in this pandemic also, you given all the webinars
Yeah. Yeah. No
in
problem.
like almost, I think it's a journey of 3 months, right? I
Yeah.
hope we
Yeah.
started at December, January,
Yeah.
February, March, April. Yeah, I think it's like 4 to 5 months. It's like long journey to you, and in
Yeah.
future definitely we'll do more programs,
Sure.
more initiatives to the Andhra students. Definitely will do.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you all for your time. Yeah. See you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Kishore. And thank you all the students who has participated for these all webinars. And thank you guys. Have a nice day. So we'll meet next program as soon as possible. At May 3rd, one of the program was starting, which is the program name is Blunder. So we'll start in that program. So yeah, thank you everyone. Have a nice day. If
Thank
you
you.
want to
Bye.
register for that program, so you guys can register. I'll share the link in chat box. Yes. I hope everyone was enjoyed. So have a nice day. Bye bye. Happy weekend.